All right. Let's see if we can get this rolling again. Where were we? We left off at creating a simple model for lists, combos, you know, simple stuff like that, and whatnot. So let's take a gander at this. So essentially, we have our model on the left, which is our advanced model. So we have the record tracking, we have values and fields, and all that fun stuff. But what we're going to do for the right is we're only going to grab the simple stuff. And we're not going to do tracking if dirty because this isn't the model we would use for that sort of thing. So in that case, we have simple model. Must contain a non-null value when exiting constructor. Well, we can do a null string, I believe. And this one, it's asking for a string null for formatted whatever. So that's going to be a formatted number, which is one way to do it. That's fine. So we have the ID and we have the text field, and that's the simple model that we would show for a dropdown. And that just means inside of our Actions tab, when we are trying to make a list, which is this top section here, we have list templates. So let's go back up to the definition of that. We're going to do something similar, but we're going to call it simple list. So we'll have it simple list and simple list. And that one's then going to become template simple model, just like that. And simple list templates is now that. All right, so now we have that as an option. Save, copy. All right. So down here, we open it up, we do the connection, we do the command, we do the reader, and while we're doing the reader, we do something else. So this bottom section is the advanced one. Let's go down here. We have list templates equal length, and we have that part, we have this part. And we say, hey, we don't want a template model because we're not filling the whole thing in. We are going to do a template simple model, and we'll do that. And then we'll do list simple list templates. We'll add the record, which is then that one. Okay, so we do the simple model, we get the ID, we get the text field. It really shouldn't be null, but we're going to handle it anyway. And then we say, yep, we have completed it, and if there's an error and the connection doesn't close, then we close it. Action completed, we turn action completed. So that essentially populates the simple list for what we're looking for. Okay. Now, those are the SQL Server methods. These are the SQLite methods, and these are the navigation methods. So in this case, we go to a detail page or we go to a new page, and then we can do another region. Not there, here. Okay, we would do a region, and we would say, actually, since we're dealing with SQLite anyway, this would probably be in here. So this is get template based on an ID. This is list the templates from SQLite. And um, yeah, so if we wanted something that returned list and had the logic behind it, we could essentially say public observable collection, simple template simple model. Okay, and this would be called get list template or get, yeah, that's even better. Get simple list template SQLite. Okay, and it has no inbound variables. It's just pretty straightforward. So as usual, we can then do our declare variables, set variables, and use variables. Okay, and we would end up needing to return variables. So in our use, and then we would say return values. So basically this one's going to be really simple. We're going to say is if list, sorry, simple list templates count is equal to 0, then we would say list template SQLite, and then return simple list templates. Essentially, that's the extent of it. So now that becomes our simple logic to just find out. We have no new variables to really declare here. This is just going to do that. So something can call this thing, and we make sure that we have a list to work with, and then we can use it somewhere else. Okay, so where do we want to use that? Well, let's go to our Solution Explorer, and we're going to go to Template List. And when it opens, there we go. So we have this go to here, which is pretty simple. But if we wanted to jump to a record by a certain text box, for instance, and we want to make sure that that combo box works, we can test it over here. Excuse me. Interesting. Twitch says I have a stalker. So if I do, feel free to throw something in the chat. That'd be awesome. If not, no big deal. So I'll try and keep an eye out. But let's check on this tab item here. And if we put in a grid, and we're going to do grid column definitions, column definition 1, 2, 3. All right, so this then has 3 columns. And the first column, we're going to put a stack panel in. That stack panel, we're going to have a label followed by a combo box. Okay, that seems pretty basic. And then the stack panel, we're going to give a style of filter controls, just like that. So it gives it a little padding by default. And then the label, we're going to give a style of input control. Yep, just like that. And we would then say content, jump to record. Okay, that makes sense. And then the combo box, which is this one, we're going to say item source is going to be something in binding. So we have list page standard fields, but that's not quite what we're looking for. So this is our view model. We have our actions, we have our tab visibility, our toggle text, our go to record, whatever. So because actions is declared as a subclass here, we can use all of the items within it. So now we can do actions dot SQLite dot, no, that's not right. So actions is template actions, and that should have some options within it. So if we go to the definitions of template actions, we should be able to call this function here called get simple list template SQLite, or technically the source of it would be simple list templates. Okay, but because this is static, it would become the same list for anybody that calls this class, which I don't know that that makes the most sense because we're using it as part of the actions class inside of here. It might be cleaner if the view model had its own list and it copied it from the static class to that view model for it to use. But for now, I guess we could take actions dot simple list templates. Okay, I mean, it seems to take it, and then we're going to say style for combo box. We're going to do combo filter, gives us our rounded corners and everything. All right, and so we probably would need some sort of like a selected item value or something like that. So let's grab path. We have display member path. And because this is a simple list, we'll go in here to simple model. We're looking at text field. Okay, that's the display member path. And then selected value path would come from the simple model as being record ID. Okay, selected value path is record ID. Yep. And then once we've selected an item, we need an action to occur. And this is where we would give it a name, and we would call it combo go to or jump to record. And we'll do selected, selection changed. Yep. And we'll hit go to definition. Now we have other events in here where selection changed happens. Current document, nope, current project. We have to make sure that selection changed uh, is correct, because selection change also fires when the system sets the selection. So here we go. Combo box has to be loaded. Copy that. So we will go here. All right, so we have jump to record selection changed. Save that. So now it won't go any further unless it has something to work with. So we have the list view model, which makes sense. And then after that view model, we would say actions go to detail template, actions dot model template model record. Yeah. So then we would have template actions dot. So it's selected template ultimately. But that just means to go to the detail template, it actually has to be provided a template model. And this is a template model, but we haven't set up the selected template because we're dealing with just a quick model. So we would have to return one. So let's go to here. And essentially, because this is the template list, go to detail template. Yep, which is here, and then go to new. The one that we'd be looking for would be get template SQLite. This one returns the same model based on an ID of what's selected. So at that point, we can then say get template SQLite. Oh, right. So we would have to say vm.actions.get template SQLite, and then I need an integer, which ultimately becomes combo box dot selected value. Which is supposed to be an integer. There we go. Put that in like that. So if that makes sense, we'll put a break there, and it should say, hey, we have that. And as long as the combo box has a selected value, it should be able to go there. Now, get template SQLite could receive a null value, and essentially, if it receives a null value, it returns a null value. And so that means the go-to detail, if this gets a null value, it returns false and it doesn't do anything, which is fine. So that means we can open this up and test menu, template list. We can go to tab 3, jump to record. It does not have any values in the dropdown. That is a problem because it's supposed to have values in the dropdown if it got them. So let's go to the list view, and the item source on this is simple list templates, which is fine. So we have the code behind, and we say, hey, the page is loaded. Use this function called get data, and get data is that apply filter one, right? This populate filters, populate order by options, and we could actually create one that's called populate go to, populate jump to, something like that. And I think that would work as well. So let's see if we can find populate. Yeah, so it's inside of the view model. Okay, so we go to the definition of the view model. We go inside of the view model like this. Okay, switch filters, populate page options, populate order by options. We have get data, next page of data, previous page of data, go to using record ID, which is fine because this one is going to go based on the record ID that the user puts in, where the other one is something else. So that's fine too. We can put that one in. All right, so with the populate stuff, we can then say public void populate jump to, like so. And when we were calling out some of these things, we can then say prepare variables, or sorry, not prepare, declare variables, set variables, and use variables. So inside of the view model, we already have the actions. So we would have to do actions dot get simple list template SQLite, just like so. But that's going to return a list essentially. And I don't know. So this is the standard fields. Yeah, we don't have that. We're just basically telling that list to do that. So let's put a break here, populate jump to, and page load, page loaded, populate jump to, just like that. And then we would get data. So we're gonna try that. So we got to here, which is fine. So we got into the function. And now we have those, and those should line up with the text fields, which would end up being whatever these are. Now, they're not showing right now because something's wrong with the text model that should be displayed. Let's find out what's wrong with that. So we have data grid view, said stop. Okay, so we have text field binding is not okay. Yeah, we'll just do text field like so. All right. Now, the other thing that I haven't been a big fan of is the data grid's background. It's got that funky gray color to it. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say its background is now transparent. Okay, we're going to hit play. We got this one, open the list. We get to here, so we know that it's getting that list. So we have these text fields are just in number order at the moment. And if we go to here, then we have that. If we pick one of these, selected value is number 5, and if we hit continue, it should bring me to ID number 5, but it doesn't seem to have done that. Um, so I'm not sure why it wouldn't have, but essentially it says go to detail template. We have the page, we have the view model equals the record, and then we say, yeah, it's loaded. So we're going to put a break here and find out why isn't it being populated correctly. So let's check this one. Let's see, so we have actions, get template based on the selected value. And I think that's the record ID. So what we can do is this is just error handling stuff up there, make sure it's not doing it wrong. And we can do declare variables, set variables, form actions. Okay, now this is the combo box thing. So this is the code behind. So we probably don't want this to be super complicated. But the view model, if we go to the definition of the view model here, we just go to here. We should, because we have one in here, it says go to record using ID. We should be able to do something similar that says jump to selected record. Jump to selected record. Okay, so that's go to details, actions, get template, go to record ID. And go to record ID is a nullable integer up here. And I think we can do the same thing. And then instead we would just call it a jump to record ID. All right, make it a jump to record ID, just like that. Copy that. All right, so inside of the view itself, which is this one, selected value. We have the value path, but we need selected value. So we have jump to record ID, and then the selection gets changed here, and then it's supposed to navigate us there, and we'll see what happens. So let's try that. Go to our list. We have our drop down. We pick a record. Selected value says 0. Okay, but the current template view model current record, did it get a record? And in this case, it did not get, well, it has a text field, but it doesn't have a record ID. Why doesn't it have a record ID? I mean, that doesn't get template SQLite. So go to definition. This should return the entire template based on something. So the record ID, right, and it has return record. So we go here. So this says get my stuff where the record ID matches this. All right, well, let's try that again. But it didn't show up. So let's go back and drop down again to this and return record here. contains record ID number 6. All right. Um, Continue. All right, so we would say record tracking current template, go to page, continue, continue. So we got here, but this doesn't display it. So if we try template detail, which is here, do we have a view model? We have a view model here. We have a data context here. What about the code behind? We have a template detail here as well. So view model has notify property changed. The detail page has that. The text field says, oh, the wrong one, apparently. Okay, so current template dot text field. Does that get changed? Yeah, here we are. All right, so let's change this out for current template within the current document. Thank you. Save. Now let's try it. Okay, list, and we have a drop down which we can jump to. We can take this breakout, continue, take this breakout. We know it kind of got the record. All right, and we have text values and we have a broken ID number up here, which I'm curious as to why. All right, so close all of the pages, open up the detail view. We know that the record ID was incorrect. So this is current template record ID. Curious as to why the current template would have a record ID of 0. Because the record ID here is an integer. By default, I guess it would be 0, but it should be getting a set value when obtaining it. So if we go to actions and we go to get template SQLite, we have a template ID, right? And we have a record ID here, which is supposed to be equivalent to that. So let's put a break in here. Let's see why. Right, this is now 5. So it should display 5, and it does display 5. Excellent. So if we go back and we double click on one, that one displays 4. If we use the drop down and we select this one will still display 0. Why does it display 0? This one says 4. Oh, because it is actually 0. The ID on that one is 0. So that was messing with me. So if we said RT, that one's 3. Okay, that makes sense. If we do an add record doesn't actually do anything. It's not programmed. So that's not going to bring us to a new entry form. Easy enough. So I guess now we have an actions dropdown and we have some basic items. So for clear filters, because we have template filters, we probably need like a clear filters action inside of the filters itself. Um, that way I can just like reset the default or something. So we can then say public void clear filters. All right. And what that means is selected integer filter type ends up being null. So we would have declare set use. So selected integer filter type ends up being null, but or no, that's not the null one. Filter value would end up being null, and then okay, so text field filter types here. That's the entire collection. This is the selected filter type, right? And then text field, which is this one, so this guy would end up equaling null. All right, that's pretty simple. Um, Now the selected filter type, yeah, easy enough, I guess. Print is almost done. So I'm gonna go and do that when I can, but essentially the clear filters button should set the defaults, I think, and the values and kind of wipe them out, which I think makes sense. So inside of the list, which is here, when we have our text filter, which is this one, and then our text box, we can say text is equal to binding filters. Filter toggle text. Okay, no, that's not it either. Filter tab visibility, integer filter types selected. I don't know that I have it in here. So if we went to list view model, we have actions, template actions, but I don't know that we have template filters. Like, so if we wanted template filters, which is this one, which has some non-static and some static, and this is not a static thing, I'm guessing we would have to use template filters inside of the view model in order to make it work. So we would have to say public template filters, filters equals new template filters, public template filters, filters. Yep. Okay. And now we have filters available in the list, which is fine. And that should allow us to do this. Text field, filter value, text field. Yeah. So then we would say mode, two-way, date source trigger, property changed. Okay, pretty simple. And then this one, it would end up needing the item source, yeah, binding, filters, dot text field filter types. Yeah, so filter types then need the same sort of thing. It's a filter type, go to definition. So filter type ID is the value behind it. So then we could say path, selected value path is filter type ID, and display member path is going to be filter type name. Okay, so we have filter type ID and filter type name, and then selected item binding filters dot selected text field filter type. All right, so this is the filter type I've selected. This is the collection of the items. This is basically the path I'm getting the value out of, and this is the display member path. Okay, I don't know that I need the value path since I'll be pulling from the selected, but we're gonna leave it anyway. And we're gonna see if this works. Okay, test menu, templates. I don't see any options in here. So text field filter types, go to definition. Yeah. So this is not being populated, essentially. Filter types. So inside of the view model here, I thought we had a populate filters. Here we are. So we just didn't fill it in then. All right. We have an equals filter type, it does not equal filter type. Um, okay. I think this is where it was getting fun before, is we need I think we need a filter or a feature folder to look at those items and keep them in memory in order to give them the drop down and kind of work with them. So yeah, so this is basically saying, hey, if the filter types is greater than 0, don't have to do anything. And filter type would probably have to have a list of actions or something to control what they were. That way I don't have to like write all this stuff out all the time. So that kind of makes sense. Makes it a little frustrating, but um, it'll have to do. So essentially, if I put in text and I hit clear, nothing happens. If I hit apply, nothing happens either, which is a pain as well. So let's check my resources or my properties. Let's say view, okay, assets, apply, filter, yeah, properties. So build action, this needs to be a resource. All right, that should make the image available for here, which is fine. So when we hit apply filters, it's supposed to do apply filter click. And that's supposed to do get data, which it kind of did, but we just didn't see it do anything. even though it happened. So then we have list page standard fields, okay, and that's fine and all, except select template SQLite should also have filters. And that's where select template SQL Server also comes in, because select, all right, so this is collections, yeah, and that's select template SQLite. And SQL Server methods, we have select template SQL Server, which has template of filters, all right, which we would have to do here as well, just like so. Now, if we do a split screen, let's go back down to SQL Server and see how we use this down here. Um, is where it basically sent values in to get them. And up here, it kind of did that where it said list page fields, records per page, etc. But there's no where statement in any of this. So now that we have filters being used, removed unused parameters not part of a shipped public API. Yeah, well, I'm going to use it anyway. So that's going to be here. So then this is going to be SB. Yep, comment that out. And then we would do SB.append. And do where. And we would have to do template ID greater than 0. Template ID greater than 0. Yeah. And that gives us our first where statement. And then our next one, we would have to say if filters dot text field filter types, selected text field filter type would have to not be null, essentially. Filter type ID is greater than 0. Okay, then we would have to say is if filters dot selected text field filter value text field does not equal empty. Text filter value text field. No, just like that. Dot append filters dot. No, not that. Then we do this. Okay, so this basically says, hey, if the filter type ID is greater than 0, actually the filter type ID in this case would have to be 10, I think. Yeah, I think. So we'll do that for the moment. Let's do this commented out and this commented out. So for the moment, it's going to get in here for the text field. And it's basically say the text field is like this from, oh, right, no, so the where actually has to come after the from. Okay. So that will go here. So this can come out like that. And then we have where we basically say, hey, if we have a text field filter put in and it's not equal to blank string, then the text field is like that. and we're going to try it. It's not building. Okay. Right. Filters. Yep. Continue. Populate order by options, get data, filters. Get data. So this is the code behind. This is the view model, right? So this is list no filters view model. Right. Right. Okay. Um, list no filters. All right. So if we go to definition here and we can put that in as null, then this part for the where would only matter if it was present. So we would have to do if filters does not equal null. All right, so at that point, that's good. Save, try it again. Still broken. All right, let's try that. So we would then do null. So no filters, it's gonna go get the data. That guy up. We're here, continue. All right, so this time it didn't get any data at all, which is interesting to say the least. Why didn't it get data? It got nothing. All right, so we got here filters. It has filters. Text field is an F. Who is all right? So guess I don't know why it didn't give me any data. So we say select from template ID where template ID is greater than 0, because it should always be greater than 0, so it should only be excluding the 1. And it's saying where filters is not equal to null, and filters is not equal to null here. So then we say the text field does not equal blank, and in that case, text field value is equal to F. Oh, right. I see it. All right, so we need a wildcard there and a wildcard here. Now I can continue, and now we do receive 3 records. So we could then change this to say W and apply filters, take this off, continue, and now it gets the one with the W in it. And if we clearing filters doesn't seem to do it. Why not? Well, in the view model, I don't think we put the thing in here. We have a clear filters option inside of the filters, And then the template list needs something to call that. So we would want to do public void clear filters. Filters, call it filters dot clear filters, just like that. Okay, so this is in the view model. The view model needs to be called by the the code behind, and the code behind is not there, not there. We'll save that one. And so if we hit clear filters, that runs this one here. Pretty simple. One line, one call. Go again. And if we go here to here, put in some text, hit clear filters, it didn't actually do anything. Okay, so that cleared it. I got, well, it says 6, but I only received 3. So now I don't have any. And clear filters also doesn't seem to function. I wonder if the filters, it's not. I notify property changed. Save. Now try it. Here, list, great, blah, 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 clear. That works. H, apply, clear, apply. That works. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This still says 5 records. That says 6 records. Why would that be 5 versus 6? Probably because the actions for selecting the list doesn't have the where statement up there. And that's because the where statement needs to be the same for both of them. So I would need either a string for the where statement in order to loop it in. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll be right back.